Hi, my name is Claire and welcome to today's session for understanding buoyancy. Specifically, we're going to be covering aspects such as Archimedes Principle. For this, we need to understand Archimedes Principle. So, what is Archimedes Principle and how does it affect us as divers? Archimedes' principle states that an object submerged in a fluid experiences an upward buoyant force equal to the weight of the fluid it displaces, determining whether it floats, sinks, or remains suspended. So, let's explain what this means. Here we have a balloon. A balloon will float on the water. The balloon will not sink or stay suspended as the weight of the balloon is not enough to displace any water. It is therefore positively buoyant. Here we have a part-filled bottle underwater. The buoyant force of the air inside pushing it up is the same as the gravity force pushing it down, meaning the bottle will stay suspended in the water at the same depth. This is neutral buoyancy. If we added a bit more air in the bottle at the same depth, the bottle would start to rise, therefore becoming positively buoyant. Our brick here has hit the water and immediately sank. This is because the buoyant force pushing upwards is much weaker than the gravity pushing it down. This is called negative buoyancy. For us to make the brick neutral, we would need to add some buoyant force to the mix. So, how does this all relate to scuba diving? If you think about a diver and all the kit, what we're aiming to achieve is neutral buoyancy, where there is an equal buoyant force to the gravity force. A wetsuit is a buoyant force, dry suit is a buoyant force, weights are a gravitational force, cylinders, steel will always sink, aluminium cylinders may sink or float depending on how full they are. So we have to take all of this into consideration. Our lungs also have an effect and should always be used for minor changes. When we breathe in, this makes us more positive, and when we breathe out, it makes us more negative. Mastering breath control is key for achieving neutral buoyancy. Breathing too deep or too quickly will have a huge effect on how we sit in the water. So, how do we achieve neutral buoyancy? Firstly, we need to make sure that we are correctly weighted. To do this, we start off by being on the water's surface with all of our equipment on, mask on and regulator in our mouth. You're going to take a big lungful of air and hold that breath in. From here, still holding that breath in, you will let out all of the air out of your BC and dry suit if you have one, making sure that you're not kicking with your legs. With correct weighting, you will float about eye level with the water's surface. If you're overweighted, you will sink whilst you have a lungful of air. This means that you need to take out some weight and repeat the process. If you are floating above the water with a lungful of air, this means that you're underweighted and you need to add some extra weights in and repeat the process until you float at eye level. So now you're correctly weighted, we're ready to descend. Now we are at eye level, all we need to do is breathe out slowly and you'll feel yourself start descending. We want to avoid kicking or sculling because this will push us back towards the surface. Whilst descending, make sure not to breathe in and out too hard, as that big breath in will make you ascend. Remember, nice slow breaths. You will, after 1 metre or so, feel yourself descending, even with this breath in. This is where the gravitational force is greater than the buoyant force, so we need to compensate for this. This is where we add air into our BC, a tiny bit at a time until we feel ourselves stabilising in the water. So, why is it important to learn all of this as a diver? Understanding neutral buoyancy will mean you are not just compensating using too much weight. Carrying less weight will give you better air consumption, which means longer time under the water. And a big one, you won't be crashing and kicking into everything, as you will have much better control of yourself under the water. So much better and so much more relaxed dives. So, to recap, Archimedes' principle states that an object submerged in a fluid experiences an upward buoyant force equal to the weight of the fluid it displaces, determining whether it floats, sinks, or remains suspended. As scuba divers, we need to understand how this works to become neutrally buoyant. We've gone over how to achieve neutral buoyancy and how to correctly descend. And lastly, why it is so important for us as scuba divers. I hope this video has been useful and don't forget to subscribe for more videos coming soon.